The Galactic capital station stretched out before Captain Maya Reynolds like a titan, gleaming silver and black against the backdrop of space. It was a neutral zone, a place where the most powerful species in the galaxy convened to debate, trade, and plot. The Council, seated within, was the heart of galactic governance. But as Maya stared at the vast station, her heart beat a little faster. For all the size and splendor of the capital, it was just another battleground. And today, Earth was about to step onto that stage. Maya stood on the bridge of the Argentum Star, her flagship, and watched as the station's immense bulk filled the view screen. Her crew was tense, aware that their every move would be scrutinized by the assembled powers. She could feel the weight of this moment, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. The people back home had waited long enough for their day to come, and now Earth would show the galaxy exactly what it was capable of. "Captain, we are approaching the docking port," said Lieutenant Arya Novak, her voice steady but with an undercurrent of anticipation. "Understood," Maya replied, her tone even. She wasn't one to show doubt, not now, not ever. But this was different. Earth had been a quiet, humble player in the galactic theater for far too long. Now, that would change. The Council, in their infinite wisdom, had never taken humanity seriously. They saw Earth as a quaint, resource-rich planet, filled with primitive creatures. Sure, humanity had advanced technologically, mastered space travel, and integrated into galactic trade and politics, but they had always been a background presence. Underestimated, ignored. But Maya was about to put an end to that. She crossed the bridge, heading for the lift that would take her to the council hall. As the doors slid shut, she took a moment to breathe. Her mind was sharp, focused, but beneath the surface, the pressure was rising. This wasn't just about the military technology they were unveiling. It was about Earth's place in the universe. The council hall was a massive space, where representatives from every known species in the galaxy gathered. At the far end, the ornate chair of the Chancellor stood, Varkas Zoratha's throne, an opulent structure adorned with symbols of his faction's power. Varkath, with his reptilian eyes and calculating gaze, had been the face of the council for over 2 decades. A leader who had expertly navigated the politics of the galaxy, keeping his allies in check while weakening his enemies. But today, Maya would challenge him directly. The delegates were already seated when Maya stepped onto the platform. The various species, some towering, others barely visible, watched her with varying degrees of curiosity. Some out of genuine interest, others with condescension. Among them were the insected Zaraklan, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the low light of the room, and the Sarath, towering figures with muscular limbs and a permanent scowl on their faces. All of them had long since dismissed humanity as an insignificant player. Maya stepped forward, her gaze scanning the room. She was a commanding presence, but even now, she could sense the undercurrent of skepticism rippling through the council. She could almost hear the whispers of doubt, the belief that humanity was not ready to show its true strength. "Captain Reynolds," Varkath Zoratha's voice sliced through the quiet. His voice, rich and smooth, carried the weight of authority. He leaned forward in his chair, a calculated smile playing at the corners of his lips. "I trust you are here to present something of great significance." Maya didn't flinch, though she could feel the tension in the air. "Chancellor Zorath," she replied with a cool, professional tone. "Today, Earth will show the galaxy what it is capable of." There was a slight pause, a flicker of something unreadable in Varkath's eyes. He motioned to the council. "Proceed." Maya's fleet was positioned just outside the station's docking rings, ready to make its mark. As she turned to the panel, a display flickered to life behind her. The audience was about to witness Earth's power. But the question that lingered in her mind was simple: would they believe it? The Argentum Star and its fleet had been designed for this moment. Years of research and development had culminated in these ships, sleek, powerful vessels powered by humanity's newly developed fusion drives. The fleet was equipped with weapons capable of taking down the most formidable of foes, but it wasn't just about the firepower. It was about adaptability, ingenuity, and the unique human drive to overcome every obstacle. Maya pressed a button, activating the fleet's weapons systems. "Commander, initiate the first test sequence," she ordered. A series of beeps filled the silence as the Argentum star aligned with the other ships in formation. The weapon, the one that would change everything, was deployed. The first shot, a brilliant arc of energy, sped through the vacuum of space, striking a designated target a few hundred kilometers away. It was the kind of strike that could obliterate a fleet. The energy beam cut through the void with terrifying precision, leaving a trail of crackling light behind it. A hushed silence fell over the council chamber, as the display showed the target's destruction in real time. Maya couldn't help but allow herself a small, triumphant smile. The technology had worked. The first phase of the unveiling was a success. But her relief was short-lived. A sudden ripple of disturbance came through Maya's comms, a sharp static crackle that pulled her attention back to the here and now. "Captain, we have a problem." Lieutenant Novak's voice came through, strained and urgent. "The weapons grid is malfunctioning. Someone's tampered with it." Maya's heart skipped a beat. Sabotage. It was the only explanation. "How bad?" she asked, her voice low but commanding. "It's not just the weapons grid, Captain. The entire control network is compromised. Someone inside the fleet is trying to shut us down." Her blood ran cold, but there was no time to waste on panic. "Initiate emergency diagnostics, reroute to backup systems. Lock down all communications." She turned back to the council. Varkith's eyes glinted in the light, his lips curled into a subtle, knowing smile. A quick glance around the room confirmed her suspicions. Some of the delegates were already whispering among themselves, exchanging looks of muted concern. Earth's demonstration had gone awry, but Maya knew it wasn't just a technical failure. Someone had orchestrated this. And she had no doubt who was behind it. "Captain Reynolds," Varkith called again, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. "Is everything under control?" Maya kept her gaze steady. "Yes, Chancellor. We will be fine." Back on the Argentum star, the crew scrambled to regain control. Maya's mind raced, calculating her next move. This was no accident. Someone in the council was trying to sabotage Earth's display, and Varkith Zorith was the most likely culprit. But Maya wasn't about to let that stop her. She turned to her officers. "We'll fix this, and we'll finish what we started. Prepare for a second demonstration. This time, we do it right." As the crew worked to restore control, Maya glanced back at the council chambers on her screen. Varkith was watching, but she knew something he didn't. Humanity was more than capable of turning the tables. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The hum of the Argentum star vibrated through Captain Maya Reynolds' boots as she paced across the bridge. Her mind raced with the weight of the sabotage attempt, and every second she stood in front of the view screen, the harder it became to stay focused on the task at hand. The fleet had been delayed, but she wouldn't allow it to falter. There was too much on the line. "Captain," Lieutenant Novak's voice broke the silence. "Diagnostics are complete. The sabotage was internal. Our weapons control grid was breached from the inside." Maya's jaw clenched. She had suspected it, but hearing it confirmed brought a new wave of urgency. "Do we know who?" "Not yet, but we've traced the anomaly to the Council's communications node. It's encrypted, but we're working on it." "Find them," Maya commanded, her tone sharp, unyielding. "And make sure it doesn't happen again." The crew moved swiftly, their fingers dancing over consoles, but Maya couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As the tactical display lit up, her eyes locked on the distant masts of the Galactic capital station. The Council was still watching, waiting. And Varkith, he would be calculating his next move if he hadn't already made it. Meanwhile, the Council hall buzzed with activity. The initial presentation of Earth's military fleet had been interrupted, and while most species were too polite to voice their thoughts, their disbelief was palpable. The Sarith, towering figures of muscle and aggression, whispered to one another, casting sidelong glances at the Earth delegation. The insected Zaraclon, with their multifaceted eyes, blinked in synchronization, murmuring to their representatives, wondering if the show was truly over. Varkith Zorath remained seated in his ornate chair, his fingers steepled in thought. His reptilian eyes narrowed as he watched the unfolding chaos with a look that bordered on amusement. Maya had been bold to show her hand so quickly, but he hadn't expected her to be so vulnerable, so easily thwarted. His lip curled. Unfortunate. For her. Back on the Argentum star, Maya stared at the repairs underway. The sabotage had been a sophisticated attempt to break their confidence, and it had almost worked. She needed to take control of the narrative, show them all what Earth was really capable of. "Captain, the systems are back online," Novak reported, her voice tinged with both relief and tension. "We're ready to run the next demonstration." Maya nodded, masking her frustration. "Good. But we're going to do more than just show them our strength. I want them to feel it." Minutes later, the Earth fleet was once again aligned in a carefully arranged formation, each ship positioned precisely. The Council's representatives had been notified that the demonstration would continue, though Maya could see the skepticism in their eyes. This time, the stakes were higher. Maya took a deep breath, her fingers hovering over the controls. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, but she held steady. This wasn't just about technology. This was about declaring Earth's place among the stars. "Commander," Maya said, her voice firm. "Initiate sequence." As the words left her lips, the Argentum star and its fleet powered up their engines, the signature hum of fusion-powered technology surging through the void of space. It wasn't just speed or firepower they were displaying this time, it was precision, finesse, and the absolute control Earth's fleet now commanded. The first volley of energy lanced out, striking a series of targets in space with pinpoint accuracy. The blast arcs flickered and vanished into the blackness, but the destruction was immediate, devastating. The fleet's firepower had been amplified, and the results were spectacular. "Target eliminated," Novak confirmed, eyes flicking to the readouts. Maya's gaze didn't waver from the viewscreen. The Council had seen Earth's technology before, but this was something entirely different. Earth had never demonstrated such raw force, and the galaxy was about to learn that the human race could be ruthless when pushed. But before the moment of triumph could settle, a crackle erupted through the comms. "Captain," Novak's voice was urgent. "Incoming message from the capital. It's from the Council. They want an immediate explanation for the damage to the target." Maya clenched her fists. It hadn't taken long. As she suspected, Varkith had orchestrated the perfect counteroffensive. They were questioning the scale of the demonstration, attempting to frame Earth's power as too dangerous, too unpredictable. Maya stepped forward, her posture unwavering. "Patch it through to the main comms," she ordered. The holographic display flickered to life. Varkith's cold smile appeared, flanked by his allies, an array of alien figures seated in their formal regalia. "Captain Reynolds," Varkith began, his voice smooth, condescending. "While your demonstration was impressive, we must consider the consequences of such firepower. Is Earth truly prepared to wield this kind of force without risking galactic stability?" Maya held his gaze, fighting back the surge of anger threatening to boil over. "Chancellor, the only threat to galactic stability is complacency. Earth is showing the galaxy what we're capable of. We don't plan to sit idly by any longer." Varkith's smile barely faltered. "You misunderstand me, Captain. I am not questioning your technology, only your readiness. The Council will need to evaluate the implications before Earth can be permitted to extend its fleet beyond what was originally agreed upon." Maya's eyes narrowed. She had anticipated this, but hearing it spoken aloud still stung. The subtle threat was clear. Earth was being painted as a rogue power, too volatile to be trusted. "We don't need permission to defend ourselves," Maya responded, each word deliberate. "This fleet represents Earth's right to stand among equals. You've underestimated us for too long." Behind the scenes, the crew of the Argentum star was working furiously to track any signs of further interference. Maya could feel the shift in the air. It was palpable. The sabotage had been an attempt to intimidate her into submission, but Earth's resolve had only hardened. The test had been a success, and she was determined to make sure it was heard. Varkith tilted his head, his expression unreadable. "Very well, Captain. But remember this, one misstep and the Council will not hesitate to act." The transmission cut off. Maya exhaled slowly, the weight of the situation pressing down on her chest. She turned back to her crew, finding their faces locked with determination. The sabotage had failed, the fleet was intact, and Earth's military might was no longer a secret. "All right, people," she said, her voice steady. "This is just the beginning. We've made our mark today, but it's time to make sure the Council knows they've been outplayed. Prepare for Phase 2. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly into the void, a reminder that Earth had barely scratched the surface of what was to come. As Maya looked out at the fleet, she knew one thing for certain: this battle was far from over. The galaxy had awakened the beast that was Earth. And now, it would never be the same. Maya Reynolds stood at the helm of the Argentum star, her eyes fixed on the stars outside. The previous demonstration had shaken the Galactic Council, but Maya knew that it wouldn't be enough to sway them completely. Earth's power had been laid bare, but the politics of the galaxy were never as simple as firepower. And if Varkith Zorath had his way, Earth's military capabilities would be buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and fear. "Captain, the Council is pushing for a vote," Lieutenant Novak said, her voice tense as she approached with an urgent report. "They want to limit Earth's military assets and Varkith is behind it." Maya finished, her voice calm but biting. She had expected nothing less. The Chancellor had made his intentions clear during their earlier conversation, and now, he would use every weapon at his disposal to keep Earth from rising to prominence. "Is there any chance they'll back down?" Novak asked, her brow furrowing. Maya shook her head. "The Council is divided, but Varkith has the votes. He's too powerful, too entrenched. If Earth wants to make its mark, we'll have to fight for it." The Council Hall was buzzing with activity when Maya arrived for the next session. The members of the Council sat in their usual positions, distant, detached, and unwilling to see humanity for what it truly was. Maya's eyes flicked across the chamber, and there he was, Varkith, sitting in his ornate chair, his reptilian gaze fixed on her with that familiar smirk. The Sarath were sitting on their side of the chamber, their massive forms hunched in a way that made them seem even more imposing. Their alliance with Varkith was well known, and their unspoken agreement to suppress Earth's growing strength was as much a part of the galactic politics as the stars themselves. Maya walked to her designated space, her movements deliberate, each step echoing in the cavernous room. She had no illusions about the difficulty ahead. Today, the stakes were higher than ever. Earth wasn't just fighting for its place, it was fighting for its future. Chancellor Varkith stood as she arrived, his deep voice booming across the room. "Captain Reynolds, I hope you've come to your senses," he said, his eyes gleaming with mock politeness. "The demonstration you provided was impressive, but you must understand that the galaxy cannot be destabilized by the reckless ambitions of a single species." Maya stood tall, her gaze unwavering. "Reckless? No, Chancellor. What's reckless is allowing a few to hold all the power, to dictate the future of the many. Earth has the right to defend itself, to protect its people, just like every other species in this galaxy." The other council members shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension rising. They knew where this was heading, and most of them wanted no part of it. Varkith raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. "Let's not be hasty, Captain. You were allowed to make your case, but now the Council must decide. We've called for a vote on Earth's military expansion. Your fleet's capabilities must be reined in for the sake of peace." Maya's lips pressed into a thin line. "You speak of peace, but you're really speaking of control. You want to keep humanity under your thumb because you fear what we can become. We've fought to get here, Varkith, and no vote of yours will change that." As the vote neared, Maya retreated to the Argentum star, her mind racing. She knew what was coming. Varkith's machinations were always calculated, and his influence over the Council was unmatched. If Earth didn't act now, it would never have a chance to grow beyond its current position. "We need to push back," Maya said, her voice firm as she addressed her senior officers. We can't let the vote pass. If we do, we'll be stifled, forced into compliance. Earth's military power has to be recognized today. Captain, are you suggesting a confrontation? Commander Lucas Hargrave asked, his brow furrowed in concern. We've already shown them our strength. Pushing any further might escalate things beyond our control. Maya met his gaze, her resolve hardening. I'm suggesting that we prove, once and for all, that Earth isn't a species to be dismissed. If we have to fight for that recognition, then that's what we'll do. Back in the council chamber, the vote was about to begin. Maya could feel the weight of every eye in the room, each one assessing her like a piece on a chessboard. Varkis sat with his hands folded, the embodiment of calm control, while Maya could barely contain the fire inside her. Let us proceed, Varkis said, signaling for the vote to begin. He glanced over at Maya, a look of satisfaction in his cold eyes. This will be the end of your ambitions, Captain. Maya stepped forward, her voice rising above the murmurs. I challenge the vote, Chancellor. The galaxy must understand that Earth will not be relegated to the sidelines any longer. We are no longer a passive species. We are a force. Varkith's smile faltered for the briefest of moments, but it quickly returned, smooth as ever. A force? Your so-called force is nothing more than a threat, Captain. And threats are not welcome in the Council. Then perhaps the Council is the one that needs to change. Maya shot back. Earth has the right to defend itself, to determine its own future. If you cannot accept that, then you are no longer part of the galaxy I want to be a part of. The air in the council chamber grew thick with tension. As Maya and Varkith locked eyes, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. The vote was imminent, but Maya knew there was no going back now. She had already made her choice. She had already drawn a line in the sand. And then, as if on cue, a transmission from Earth cut through the chamber's comms. This is Earth Command. The voice of General Aldrin echoed across the room. We are prepared to act on behalf of our people. If the Council votes against us, we will defend our right to exist as we see fit. No longer will we be dictated to by the powers of the galaxy. The Council froze. General Aldrin's words were more than a declaration. They were a challenge, a signal that Earth was prepared to fight for its future, no matter the cost. The transmission ended, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Varkith's expression soured as the weight of the message hit. The Saurus shifted uneasily, and even some of his closest allies looked unsure. Captain Reynolds, Varkith finally said, his voice sharp. This is your last chance. Withdraw your challenge and accept the Council's decision. But Maya didn't flinch. I'll accept the Council's decision when Earth has been given its place in the galaxy. Not before. As the room erupted in whispers, the vote proceeded. It was a tense, drawn-out affair, with each species casting their ballot. Maya stood in silence, watching the process unfold. Every moment seemed to stretch longer than the last. Finally, the vote came to an end. By a narrow majority, the Speaker of the Council intoned. The motion to restrict Earth's military capabilities has been overruled. For the first time, Maya allowed herself a smile. It wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. But for the first time, Earth's fate wasn't in the hands of those who had ignored it for so long. As Maya left the chamber, she knew one thing for certain: Earth's future was now in their hands, and no one, not even Varkis Zorith, could take that from them. Ask ChatGPT. The Argentum star drifted silently in space, its systems humming as Maya Reynolds stood at the bridge, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. The Council's decision, though hard one, had shifted the balance of power in the galaxy, but the path ahead remained uncertain. Maya's fingers tapped the console, her mind racing through the complexities of what had just transpired. Earth had secured its place among the stars, but the galaxy was a vast, unpredictable entity, and the true tests were still to come. Captain, Lieutenant Novak's voice broke through her thoughts. The Council vote was in our favor. Earth's military expansion is officially authorized. Maya turned, allowing herself a moment of quiet satisfaction before responding. It's a victory, but it's only one step. We have to make sure that the galaxy knows we'll defend that victory. Novak nodded. There are already whispers among the other factions. They're wary. But we've proven that we won't back down. I'd rather have their fear than their trust. Maya replied with a tight smile. Fear keeps people honest. The news spread like wildfire. The victory had been declared, but the implications rippled across the galaxy. The Argentum star was no longer just a symbol of Earth's resolve, it was the first in a new era. As Maya and her fleet returned to Earth's orbit, the people of her homeworld felt the weight of the moment. It had been a long time coming, this recognition. And now, Earth stood on the precipice of something monumental. But Maya wasn't interested in celebrations. Not yet. Captain, we have an incoming transmission from the Galactic Council, Novak said, her voice laced with tension. Maya's expression tightened, her hand gripping the armrest. Patch it through. The holographic display flickered to life, and once again, Varkith Zoratha's reptilian face appeared, his cold eyes gleaming with a mix of distaste and calculation. Behind him, the other council members sat silently, their expressions unreadable. Captain Reynolds, Varkith began, his tone dripping with formality. While the vote has been passed, let us not mistake this as a blanket acceptance of Earth's ambitions. The Council is watching, and we expect Earth's actions to align with the spirit of cooperation that has long kept the galaxy in balance. Maya's eyes narrowed. She had expected this. Varkith's threats had never been subtle, but now, there was something else, a sort of quiet malice behind his words, a warning that Earth's ascension would not be tolerated without consequences. You have the Council's attention, Varkith continued, but don't mistake this for trust. We will be monitoring Earth's movements very closely. Any deviation from your promises, any sign of aggression, and the Council will intervene. Maya remained silent for a moment, her jaw tightening. I understand, Chancellor. But let me make one thing perfectly clear. Earth will not be controlled. We will act in our own interest, and if the Council thinks it can threaten us into submission, they're gravely mistaken. The silence that followed felt oppressive. Varkith studied her for a moment, his lips curling slightly, but he said nothing more. Instead, the transmission ended abruptly. Maya exhaled slowly, her resolve hardening. Let them watch. Earth's future is ours to shape, and we'll defend it, no matter who stands in our way. On Earth, the public response was nothing short of overwhelming. News outlets across the planet buzzed with excitement. There were celebrations, of course, but also a sense of unease, mistrust, even. Humanity had achieved what many had considered impossible, but now they stood at the edge of something far greater, and the world was not entirely sure what it meant to hold such power. As Maya watched the crowds gather below, she felt the weight of their expectations bearing down on her. The stakes had just escalated. The Council might have granted Earth the right to expand its military, but they were watching, waiting for any misstep. One mistake, one poorly calculated move, and everything could unravel. Captain, Commander Hargrave's voice broke through her thoughts. We've received a message from the Zaraclan. They're requesting a meeting. They want to discuss trade negotiations, but I suspect it's more than just commerce. Maya raised an eyebrow. What do you think they're really after? Hargrave hesitated. Power. Like everyone else. They're interested in how Earth's rise will affect the balance. They're worried about the growing influence of humanity. Maya exhaled. Tell them we'll meet. But make it clear we're not interested in playing their games. They'll come to us on our terms. The meeting with the Zaraclan was tense. Maya sat across from their representatives, two insected beings whose bodies seemed to ripple with energy. Their multifaceted eyes studied her carefully, analyzing every movement, every gesture. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the air filtration system. The Zaraclan weren't known for their patience, but they respected power, and Maya knew how to wield it. We've heard of your recent developments, one of the Zaraclan leaders, Krathrix, said, his voice a low, clicking hum. The Council is disturbed by the sudden rise of your military capabilities. And as you've just proven, you're willing to challenge it head-on. Maya's voice was firm, unwavering. We're not challenging anyone. We're asserting our right to exist. Earth will not be subjugated by the whims of the Council or anyone else. Crathrix leaned forward slightly, his many eyes narrowing. Your rise is not without consequences. The balance of power is delicate, and now you have the attention of every faction in the galaxy. Are you prepared for that? Maya met his gaze. We've always been prepared. Back aboard the Argentum star, the tension continued to mount. Earth had secured its place, but that only made it a bigger target. Maya knew that the galaxy wouldn't stand idly by while humanity took its seat at the table. There would be factions that sought to undermine Earth's power, factions that would stop at nothing to bring Earth down. And Varkas Zorith was no exception. We're receiving a transmission from the Sarith, Novak said. It's urgent. Put it through, Maya replied, her instincts already on edge. The transmission opened, and Maya was once again met with the cold stare of the Sarith commander, Targash. His species, as large and imposing as their reputation, had always been a significant power in the galaxy. And like the rest, they now found themselves watching Earth closely. Captain Reynolds, Targash's voice was low, a growl almost. The Council may have granted you military authority, but you should understand that this will not be tolerated by all. The Sarith will not allow Earth to grow unchecked. Maya stood tall, her voice steady and firm. We won't be intimidated, Targash. Earth's future is ours to decide. If the Sarith have a problem with that, they can address it directly. Targash's eyes glinted, his lips curling into something resembling a smile. We shall see, Captain. We shall see. The transmission ended, leaving Maya in the quiet aftermath of 1,000 questions. The path ahead was clearer now. Earth would be challenged, and it would face opposition from every corner of the galaxy. But it was also stronger than it had ever been before. Maya turned to the view screen, watching the stars. She could almost hear the echoes of her people, the ones who had fought so hard for this moment, the ones who had longed for a future in the galaxy. Earth had earned its place. And now, it was time to defend it. For better or worse, Earth had stepped into the galaxy's spotlight. And nothing, not even the combined forces of the Council, could take that from them.